Okay, so as I was saying, back down. Oops, my battery came out almost. As I was going to say, this was the car shop. This right here in this area was where the car department sits today. That big white building down on the other end of town there. Down that road there. Whoops. Down this road. It would have been 318 feet tall, 4 stalls, and then the lumber shed would have been just behind that. Actually, here we go. This was the car shop, 4 bays, probably about 20 feet tall. This would have been the inspector's office, and this back here would have been the blacksmith shop for making parts for the cars. This would have been the lumber shed here. And then this would have been the carpentry mill, or what was called the planing mill. They would have had the saws and woodworking equipment for making stuff for the wooden box cars back then. And probably railroad ties. This back here is the blacksmith shop. As you can see, it's a bit taller than, of course, we're looking from an elevated track. And this here would have been the gantry crane. I'm not sure how tall it would have been, probably 20 feet. 20 feet maybe. Would have had a clamshell bucket on it, and I'll show you a picture of that here. Oops. But this is how they coaled the locomotives up before they had this bad boy here. This was the coal tower, 75 feet tall and 500-ton capacity. It's all smoked up, but this is round here, and then you would have had the skip hoist over here that brought the coal up and dumped it in there. And then you had some coal chutes off the side and a water spigot right there. Most of the stuff's filled in and gone, but I think you can still see a little bit of a footer of where the shed would have been here, the shelter for the coaling tower. And then of course this tall stack back here would have been, as I said, the boiler shop. What was later the boiler shop, as you see here in 1917. This photo was 1906. I do believe. This was from 1917, as you can see, or 1918. And I got this book from the Garrett Historical Society. But the inspector's office was there. Blacksmith shop made out of brick. It was 85 feet long, 103 feet for the erecting shed and machine shop. And then back behind it you would have had the transept here. That's where those planks are stacked up back in the woods that I showed you a few minutes ago. And then you would have had the transept that went over that. And then you would have had an air compressor and tank. Molding shed would have been there. This is where that bunker would have been. Right there. Brick powerhouse. 80 feet wide. And then originally at this time you would have had this, well, before they built this thing, you had this. It was the coaling facility. It would have been right along here, excuse me, between the sand house, which was just behind Peter Street here. This isn't Peter Street. We're right here actually on yeah, we're right over here by Peter Street right now. But at one point this would have been a full circle sand house, and then you had the coal bunker here, coal box. You see it says there. Right there it says coal box, this little black thing there. And that's where this crane probably would have rode, between the cinder pit and the coal box, and it would have scooped it up using what's called a clamshell bucket. It's like, you know, the double things that, you know, they go like this and grab a scoop full, and then it would shuttle it over like this to the locomotive and then drop it down in it, and it would go back and forth. But before they had to use that, they actually had a double coal chute somewhere in this area. I am not sure where. Nobody's around to have known it. But it was a double chute originally, and they'd pull it up the elevated track, as you see here. This was elevated. And that's how they would coal the locomotives up. It would slide down the chutes into the engines. Lots of coal there, of course. And then there's the other side of the railroad I'll show you, which was this area over here. This building that sat here would have been the museum. I'll show you where that was. And then the passenger station, the depot, which would have looked like this, actually. Originally, this was before they did the renovations in 1910. They extended this roof all the way over so it just looked like a big flatback. It was, probably 30 feet tall. No, 25, I think. It doesn't really say. I didn't really research that part of it. I was more worried about the shops. But I'll take you over and show you. This would have been a coal company right on the corner, Randolph there, where Yoder Ford sits today. And then just behind that would have been where this building, it's the not the passenger station, but the freight shed and shipping office, or they would have had the clerk's offices in there, and you had this platform here. Eventually it was moved all the way back here by the city power plant, and well, it's the electrical department these days, but originally they had a steam and electrical generating plant, and I will take you over and show you that right now. Oh, so here's an artist interpretation of what the shops originally would have looked like. You have the car shop there, the carpentry mill, inspector's office. You have the powerhouse there. Later, the boiler shop, which would have been moved over here. They had offices here, about where this sits, right over in that area there. It was a very busy area at one point in time. Let me try and refocus this here.